Green Bay Packers have made some unbelievable strides, probably more than any other team, but in a division which the face is changing almost annually. And as we wait for Tampa Bay and then Chicago, we're going to find out how much the face of the NFC Central changes with the next two picks. If they do indeed keep their draft picks, Tampa listening to perhaps phone offers, and also the Chicago Bears have been called by teams. Maybe even the Green Bay Packers have called the Chicago Bears. So it's the NFC Central part of our draft right now as the Buccaneers are working the phone. Mel, you had maybe Footman? That's a little high.
Well, that was high. I threw him up there just to really get him into where I had Eric Swan going, because Footman is a big 6'5", 288-pounder that brings as much physical ability to the position as any defensive lineman in this draft, including Curry, including Van Williams. If I'm Tampa Bay, I'm looking at the strength of this draft, which is defensive line. You have Santana Dotson, you have Mark Wheeler from last year's draft. They're a four-man front with Floyd Peters. To me, that's a definite need area. Depending upon what their future is with Paul Gruber, you have Roaf and Kennedy sitting there. As Joe mentioned, you're looking at wide receiver Curtis Conway or Dawkins. All the players that they need are here right now.
As we check back at War Room Cam, Mel, Eric Curry is on the phone with Sam Weiss. We know that Sam's on the phone. We know that Eric Curry's on the phone. We know the cards at the podium. You add it up. Oh, if it's Curry, it can't be that hard to pronounce, Paul.
With the sixth pick in the draft, Tampa Bay selects Eric Curry, defensive end, Alabama. The next choice will be the Chicago Bears.
That's in Atlanta as Eric Curry, back-to-back Crimson Tide from a defense that may be the best college defense ever seen. And I've heard some talk about USC in the 60s with McKay. But when you gawk Copeland, Curry, and we haven't heard the end on this day, it's a roll tide early part of the draft as defense has gone to Cincy, and now the Bucs. We'll be back.
Burt Reynolds for Quaker State.
The big Q stands for quality. Always has, always will. You know, when it comes to protecting against friction, nothing beats Quaker State. When it comes to protecting against viscosity breakdown, nothing beats Quaker State. When it comes to keeping engines clean, nothing beats Quaker State. Take it from me, for unbeatable protection, nothing beats Quaker State. It's one...
As we have returned to the Marriott Marquis, the NFL Draft, again, carpet cam, shag carpet cam. And it's been a lot of fun already, that's for sure. We started offense, and now the next three picks, 4, 5, 6, have gone defense. Eric Curry, Mel Kiper, is a rare pass rusher. They feel that he could be the strict pass rushing defensive end the team spent 10 years looking for and never quite developed.
That was his responsibility at Alabama, to get outside, get after the quarterback. He had Copeland inside, he had Derek Oden at inside linebacker, great supporting cast at Alabama. What Curry needs to do is get stronger in the weight room, only did 11 reps at 225. But you see a kid able to come off the corner, close, track down a running back down the field. And I think it's that closing speed which allows teams to believe that once he gets up to a solid 265, 270, he is going to be a major force. All his negatives are correctable, and that's something Floyd Peters will take care of. That sustained intensity that was lacking at times at Alabama. There would be a quarter and a half where Curry would disappear. Floyd Peters will kick him into shape, a year in the weight room, and he could be a force, especially when tied in with Dotson and Wheeler and that young defensive line they already have in Tampa Bay.
Well, Eric Curry really, Mel, is a sculptured type of guy. Looks kind of like Karl Malone. Plays like Richard Dent, which would be pretty good. Mike Gottfried, your opinions on Eric Curry, the pass rusher?
Well, Chris, I think it's a great choice by Jerry Angelo in Tampa Bay. What you get is a pass rusher off of the edge. He's supposed to have the quickest first step in college football, so they get a great pass rusher from the outside.
All right, well, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers certainly know, Mike, what they have. And let's go down to Brad Nessler, who's with the coach, Sam Weiss. Brad?
All right, Chris, thanks. Sam, yesterday we talked, there were different directions you could go with this first pick. You got a guy that you wanted, though.
Yeah, we had a handful of guys that we would have been really happy with, and Eric Curry's one of them. I think the descriptions that are being given here are pretty accurate. We think he's a tremendous pass rusher and going to be a real good player.
Does this move Keith McCants to linebacker or not necessarily?
Well, it gives us a lot of flexibility. We better leave it at that. Keith's a tremendous player, too, and it just gives us a chance to use Hardy Nickerson and Martin Mayhew and Barney Bussey and the other defensive players we picked up in the off-season, along with the draft, and there's more to come. It will be a lot better football team now.
Does any of that more to come have to do with Paul Gruber? So much speculation. We understand, and we've had reports that you guys have given other teams permission to at least talk to his agent. Are you going to do anything with Gruber today?
Well, I gave my word to Paul Gruber and to Ralph Sindritz, his agent, that we would not say anything publicly, and we're not going to break that trust.
All right, Eric Curry's down in Atlanta. Your #1 pick, the big fellow, who's going to put some pressure on opposing quarterbacks. If you want to talk to him, Sam, the floor is yours.
All right. I see I have to say Mr. Curry until we get him signed, of course, then we can make him run laps. Eric, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Well, I guess the first thing, I asked you just before we took the pick, I called him on the phone. I'm going to tell you, we cheated a little bit here, and I asked him what his lifelong dream was in the National Football League, and he's to play who, and your answer was?
Tampa Bay.
You gave the right answer. See, this isn't any dummy. We got a smart one here, at least. We know that. He gave it the right answer. We're happy. I tell you what, we went and did the full 9 yards on this guy, and he's a great player. Eric, we're looking for you to come in here and be an impact player for us this very first year.
Well, I'd be happy to go in and play with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and play with Keith McCants, one of my longtime teammates, and so it's going to be something that I'll truly enjoy, and I hope I have a great career at Tampa Bay.
We're looking forward to you.
All right, Eric
Okay.
Curry, the #1 pick of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Congratulations, Coach. We're going to let you get back to work. We'll get our draft room cam going. See you later. Sam Weiss, #1 pick, Eric Curry, is going to put some pressure on the quarterback now for the Tampa Bay Bucs as we head back to where there's a lot of pressure. And Chris Berman. Chris?
Pressure? What pressure? This is a great day, that's for sure. Thank you, Brad. And I like the coach put the coat on just to go to the interview. I can get rid of it and go back in war room camp. We know, Coach, you're not wearing the jacket in war room camp, nor should you. Keith McCants, you heard Brad ask Sam what he would do with McCants, and obviously it's a little early to project. What do you think they should do?
I don't think it's early at all, Chris. When you look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Keith McCants was going to become Chris Dolman. Floyd Peters came from Minnesota to Tampa Bay. They used that under-style defense. He was going to be that pass-rushing defensive end. It hasn't really worked out. Keith has not been happy at the defensive end position. He's not been able to adjust and really not been a satisfactory producer there. Now they've got the pass-rushing defensive end. They can move McCants back. More than just getting him back to a natural position, you're going to get a happy football player. And I think that's what Sam's trying to do. He's trying to accommodate Gruber. This will make McCants happy. It'll get him outside where he likes to be. And now he's got a natural defensive end that Floyd can work with and mold and possibly get like a Chris Dolman without having to make major adjustments in his game as far as his weight, size, and rushing ability goes.
Now what you've had are Copeland and Curry gone. The last bona fide top of the draft defensive lineman is Dan Williams from Toledo. The Chicago Bears could choose him with their next selection, and remember, Dave wants that. This is the first pick of his era, and he knows the value of defensive linemen. As a defensive coordinator for the Cowboys, he shuffled in 7 or 8 of them on the top-ranked defense last year. However, everyone else in the league knows the value of defensive linemen. This is where a Niners, this is where a couple of other teams may try and get up and get the last bona fide blue chip player. Chris Mortensen, what have you heard on this possible trade development?
Well, Chris, you're pretty much right on there. Now, they would have preferred Copeland or Curry in this spot. The Bears would have. They're not prepared to take Dan Williams here unless they really have to. Now, they've been talking to Green Bay, who wants to move up there, Indianapolis, to take Bettis, Philadelphia, possibly to take Dan Williams or Patrick Bates, and also the 49ers obviously want to move up. If the Bears can't trade here, I expect them to take Curtis Conway, the wide receiver from Southern Cal. Now, let's go to Santa Clara with Fred Edelstein.
Thanks, Mort. The 49ers are talking to the Bears. This is their opportunity. As I said before, they like the 3 defensive linemen. Coming up after this, you have the Saints, you have the Falcons, you have the Rams, all division teams with the 49ers. The Broncos traded up to 11. They're going to take a wide receiver. If they're going to get Dan Williams, they have to get him here. You got to think that maybe the Saints are interested in Dan Williams, too. They may be talking to the Chicago Bears. Now we're going to go back to Chris Berman in New York.
All right, Freddie, thank you very much. And the face you're looking at is one of Dan Williams from Toledo, a young man from Detroit, a man who was compared in toughness to Randy White. How tough will it be to get him? We'll be back.
Fire is one of your home's worst enemies. That's why homeowners across America are choosing American Semwood for Class A fire-safe roofing products. A patented process combines wood fiber and cement into a unique roofing product that is lightweight and beautiful. An American Semwood roof will not only enhance the value and appearance of your home, it also protects it. In fact, it has a 50-year warranty. For the beauty of wood and the fire protection of cement, call American Semwood today.
Imagine a place where tales are tall, the air is pure, and dreams run free.
I feel the music in my heart when my tenor
sings. Tune in to ESPN as the excitement heats up in May. All this plus much more in May on ESPN.
Less than 4 minutes on the clock for Dub Bears, their first pick in the non-Mike Ditka era. Dave Wannstedt and Mike McCaskey are really the two running this year's draft, and that's a change in the Bears' philosophy from past years. One question is, they have always prided themselves on the defensive line. A couple years ago, Dan Hampton retired. Richard Dent has made a lot of noise that he wants out of there. Dave Wannstedt may appease him. Steve McMichael certainly toward the end of his road. Yes, they picked Spellman 1 last year, and a few years back they picked Trace Armstrong 1. Guys are going to be good players. Do you pick again up front, or do you go to the other area that the Chicago Bears have tried to address the last couple of years but has been aging, that offensive line, because you got Lincoln Kennedy and you got William Roaf that are there. So those are really the three players, or Conway, the wide receiver. Those are their 4 picks, guys.
Chris, I think you go Curtis Conway. I think that's the area you go. When you think of the Chicago Bears, you have to think Tommy Waddle has been their most productive wide receiver over the last couple of years. Tom is not the fastest guy in the world. Now remember, Dave Wannstedt comes from Jimmy Johnson's camp. Jimmy Johnson preaches and talks speed, so it's got to be, in my opinion, it's got to be speed wide receiver.
Well, the Bears have a little over 2 minutes to go, and there's Dan Williams on the phone. And if we detect a smile, we may detect a phone call from Illinois. And he may have played at Toledo, but it was wholly Toledo for Dan Williams, because when he played in the All-Star games and went up against Lincoln Kennedy, he held himself pretty darn well. So the fact that he went to Toledo should not count against him here, that he's a frontline big-time player, Mel.
Well, as a junior, he did a great job when he worked against Kennedy. Of course, that when they played Washington. And, of course, as a senior, they upset Purdue at West Lafayette. He had a great game there with 4 sacks. In the East-West Shrine game, Kennedy kind of neutralized his charge. But I think Dan Williams has proven that he's a chiseled 280-pounder that can get after the quarterback.
All right, well, the commissioner is getting handed the card. Some serious handoffs going up there. It's an option play with the card. Here's the Bears pick.
The Chicago Bears select Curtis Conway, wide receiver, University of Southern California.